All right, so greetings to everyone who is joining us live. Welcome to this discussion today for classical singers singing contemporary music. I am Dion Napier. I am head coach at Amplify Vocal Studio, and I help singers break through self-limiting beliefs and build a versatile voice that can sing anything. And so, as you can see, I have my great friend and brother here today, Cameo Humes. And I'm going to read his bio to you so you can see why I have him on here today, because he is in the industry and he is working. And I want him to be able to share some of the standards and some of the preparations that are needed to survive in the music industry today, especially for you university trained singers that are in academic environments, transitioning out of that to get into the working world as a musician. So let me introduce Cameo and read some of his bio. So Cameo Humes is quickly becoming one of the most sought after tenors in operatic and concert repertoire. He has performed with the Richmond Symphony, Fort Wayne Philharmonic, the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra, the SANAA Opera Project, Hilton Head Choral Society, and the Orchestra Sinfonia del Internazionale Chamber Ensemble in Italy. His most recent engagement included a debut with Teatro alla Scala in the roles of Peter, Crabman, Mingo, and Robbins in their production of Porgy and Bess. So some of Cameo's other operatic credits include the title role in Mozart's La Clemenza di Tito. He has also performed in Don Giovanni with Opera Festival di Roma. He's performed in Barber of Seville, La Traviata. Like I told you, the man is working. He's not playing, okay? He's performed with Dayton Opera, Lyric Opera of Chicago, and also the Skylight Music Theater of Milwaukee. He's performed with the Princeton Festival, Cincinnati Opera, and also in Showboat with Houston Grand Opera. So Cameo has also recorded the lead role in Richard Thompson's The Mask in the Mirror. This is a modern opera based on the life of Paul Laurence Dunbar. And this was with Navona Records, which was reviewed by Opera News and selected as Critics' Choice. Recent concert performances. And I'm taking time to read all of this and lay this out so that you can hear this man's accomplishments and know why, again, why I have him on here talking to you guys today. So recent concert performances with Richmond Symphony, the Chicago Bar Association, Symphony Orchestra, and some of his upcoming engagements include a debut with Lyric Unlimited in Janine Tesori's Blue. Cameo is a lover and avid performer of the Negro spiritual, and he has toured Spain, France, and Ireland with the world-renowned American Spiritual Ensemble. Cameo is also a regular member of the chorus at the Lyric Opera of Chicago. So help me welcome this awesome man in the music industry, Cameo Humes. Welcome, 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 Cameo.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Look, that's what you've done, honey. Yes, I tell no lies. I tell no lies. So I want to go ahead and hop into our discussion today, okay?
Okay.
And so the first question that I want to ask you and kind of have a little discussion about is classical singers singing crossover music. When I say crossover to the audience, I'm saying non-classical style. So like pop, R&B, gospel, jazz, those non-classical forms. Because many of us were told that if we sing those genres, we were told in academia by our voice professors and stuff, if we sing that music, it would damage our voice and destroy it. And so lots of us have backed off of that. But I want you to share with us, what are your thoughts on that? And let's just start from right there.
Cool. Yeah. So, like you were saying, this when we were coming up in academia, this was sort of the perception that was widely accepted, right? That somehow singing in other genres and non-classical genres was going to render your vocal technique null and void, essentially, right? And I
Yes.
think a lot of that, what I'm guessing, a lot of that perception is based on is that the sound production in commercial music singing styles. There's a perception that it so greatly differs from the classical practice, in areas of of tone and voice
Yes.
quality, registration and technical requirements. And
Yes.
so it's kind of, I think, because of that, the advantages of the classical singing was sort of seen as, there's this systemized pedagogy for that, whereas, we look at commercial music almost like it's less intentional, less
Mhm.
goal oriented,
Yep.
less formal. There's no real direction, and and where you're trying to go with that. And I particularly am of the belief that anyone with a solid foundation in singing, the two. So like if we'll call CCM like right like contemporary music
Sure.
and then classical music.
Okay.
I particularly think that if you have a good solid foundation, that they both share, those things. So like you're gonna need to learn how to control your voice. You're gonna need to learn about registration. You're gonna need to learn about breath support and all of that.
Mhm.
So considering that those two genres are, they're the same basic foundation. So
Yeah.
I look at commercial singing styles as almost more like I just said, styles and genres, learning how to adapt that basis
Mhm.
uh, to that particular genre or in that style. And I think it's the best of both worlds. So I don't look at it as completely different techniques, completely different, singing.
Right.
It's just a different style.
Different style,
Yeah.
yeah. And I agree with you. There is so much more overlap than we
Yes.
know, than we've been exposed to. And so why do you think our professors tell us this? If there is overlap and if it's not much difference in the technique, just style, why are our professors telling us and still telling us this? Now we've been
Yeah.
out of school for a few years, guys. So I met Cameo when we were at Cincinnati College Conservatory. We studied there together at the same time. So we've been out. This was like 2008,
Mhm.
2010-ish year. Okay. But there is a young lady that was on my live a couple of weeks ago, and she's in academia now. Her teacher telling her the same thing. Quit
Yeah.
singing that, whatever. Why are they telling us this?
That's so interesting to me. I'm not sure, and this is kind of an overall issue, I think, and this is me, I'm still teaching in academia as well. So what I
Okay.
tend to see is that a lot of these teachers, they've kind of been in academia for a while and they're not really out in the business doing the performing. Because
Yep.
if they were, they would know that nowadays in the industry is calling for more versatility. It's
Mm,
becoming, because opera companies, this is among opera companies, this is among theater companies, this is among
wow.
churches, literally everything.
Wow.
The audience is becoming wider, right?
Yes.
We're trying to reach a wider audience, and especially now with all the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives,
Yep.
more entities are seeking ways to be inclusive of various styles, even within classical music itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I've just, at Lyric Opera Chicago, where I'm based, I just finished doing two separate workshops last year and this year, with new works that literally tie in different genres of music, even within that opera. So
Mm,
I was singing, there was one was called the Factonum, which is actually being premiered this coming season at Lyric. But there
mm.
are elements of hip hop, like a straight up hip hop beats, singing with synthesizers, rapping. Both
Wow.
of the workshops I did had rapping in it, R&B style, styling. So
Wow.
yeah, it's to me to have that sort of perception in this
Mhm.
day and age with the way that things are going right now in the industry just seems almost like a setup, like it was set you up.
And I don't want to believe that our professors did set us up to fail. Is that what you mean? Like,
Yeah,
I don't, yeah,
no,
I
no, I don't think they're setting you up to fail. I just think to hold on to sort of that older view and
don't, yeah,
perception will
yeah.
end up setting you up.
It will, and
Yeah,
it is setting up a lot of us. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? To be afraid to even approach it. I
To
know
even
I
approach it.
was, because I was like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, I've trained this voice, this soprano, whatever. I don't want to mess my voice up. you
Right.
know, but I wanted to sing that music, but I didn't know how to approach it without
Right.
sounding like I was singing opera, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't think they intentionally set us up to fail, but like you said, the lack of staying current,
Current. Mm,
being in that academic box and not, you know, crossing over into the industry a little bit to know what's going on, that it ends up
right.
putting us at a deficit, you know. So
And also, why, if you can't, I particularly think that us, having studied classically, for if anything, it gives you sort of, it strengthens what you are capable
it
of doing within other styles.
totally.
And why limit your bag, right? Like we kind of already know, specifically within the opera industry, that for one, there's peaks and valleys, right? So you're gonna have sometimes where you're performing on a consistent basis, going from contract to contract to contract. But then
Mm,
there are going to be other times when there are going to be lulls. There
yeah,
are going to be valleys, right? You're going to have some off time. That's usually when I study and check out, with a voice coach. That's when I learn new roles. That's when I,
yeah.
maintain my technical abilities and things like that. So why limit what you are able to do? Especially nowadays, right? That we kind of already know that only a certain percentage of us are singing at those top opera houses. That's just the reality of it, right?
Yep.
Only so many of us are going to be performing on the Met stage at Lyric Opera Chicago, at LA Opera, and things of that nature. So
Right.
the vast majority of the other singers are going to be always be in that working stage, always trying to audition, always trying to get the next gig.
Yep.
So if you can be versatile and adapt to different styles of singing, you know having understood the tenets of those styles. I'm not saying just to kind of go and you need to do your research and know what the differences are, right? That
Right.
only makes you more versatile. It only opens up your opportunities.
Mm,
So why limit that?
right.
Even at
I'm with,
church. And
you
in
said
my
what,
church
even at
now, I
church?
have a church. Yeah, so I sing at a church regularly, and we have contemporary Sundays where there's some Sundays that we do Broadway music. There's
Wow.
other Sundays where we do spirituals. There's other Sundays where we call it a joyful noise Sunday, which is kind of more spiritual gospel. But like we do all kinds of singing even within that
Uh,
that
that
system.
setting. Yeah. That's so good, man. That's so good. Give me a second. I'm gonna take a minute because I want to see if there are people on here live and if they're commenting because I can't see it from here.
Okay.
But
All
I
right.
don't want to ignore those people. I want to engage with them. So give me a moment to see. Okay. All right, cool. So I can see if anybody's commenting. And guys, if you're catching the replay, just type replay in. If you can relate to any of this that Camille has shared, the need for knowing different styles and finding work even in your church or your local community and know and being able to sing in those different styles, just put some comments in the chat, even if you're watching the replay. So Camille, this brings me to my next question for you. So how can these university singers that are in the programs, just kind of maybe just graduated, want to cross over, how can they best prepare for real world auditions? So this is my thought behind this question, because in
Okay.
academia, right, we audition, the auditions are held there and you're assigned roles. Like
Right.
the roles are picked
Right.
for you, whatever. But in the real world, no, you got to go get it. You got to go audition.
Yes.
I feel like there is some difference, and I would love for you to talk about auditions in school versus auditions in the industry.
Yeah. So like you just kind of laid out, it is a bit different, academia versus the real world. I mean, academia is good for setting you up for what to expect,
Yep.
for what to expect at an audition, audition etiquette, that sort of thing. But when you transition into the real world, like you said, it's going to be a lot of, you have to apply yourself, right? You also have to be very familiar with your instrument. That's the one thing I would tell
Mhm.
somebody. Be very familiar. Come to know and love your instrument. Know what your limitations are. Know what you're good at.
Mhm.
Find that niche, that no one else is doing, right? Because no one singer sounds alike.
Right. No.
Everyone, has a special gift, right? So they know what you bring to that table, and
Mhm.
then I'll say go after it. Um,
Yeah.
apply yourself. Know where to find auditions, whether if you're going online, if you're looking at something like a system like Yap Tracker,
Mhm.
or if you're doing, there are a lot of theater-based sort of online audition postings as well, and just kind of knowing where to look to find the auditions,
Yeah.
understanding what the audition is requiring of you. There are some auditions that will ask you to do a monologue. So if I don't ever remember in my specific academia training where we even focused on how to learn a monologue, how to commit it to memory, what monologue to pick, things of
Mhm.
that nature. And so
Mhm.
when you get out in the real world, if you're not already familiar with that, it can kind of throw you for a loop a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
also even especially if we're talking about commercial music, in academia we the standard is sort of sing two arias, right? Maybe
Right.
three. When you get into the real world, you may be asked only to sing 16 bars, or you may be asked to start the aria, if they're running behind on time. If there's a lot of people that are auditioning,
Mhm.
I've done med auditions where they've literally started me. Okay, can we start at this section of the aria? Like, and it could be in the middle of the aria, or they can start you and then stop you early, right?
Mhm.
And you have to be able to not let that throw you off. So this is
Yeah.
a lot of things that to consider in the real world.
That's good, Camille. That's really good. I feel like I had another question and it slipped. We're talking about how to prepare. So share, if you don't mind, because we good on time. Share a little bit of your journey, like how did you transition from that academic setting into where you are now, getting these gigs, getting these constant contracts, being a regular in Chicago Lyric. Walk us through that journey and give some encouragement, because I know that journey ain't for punks.
It's not. So, and this was one thing that I will also say, um, that I learned when I transitioned out of the academic setting, right? Because in academia, you're sort of taught, okay, everybody work real hard. You spend your time in the practice room, you work on your instrument,
Up.
and then things will come to you, and then things will pay off. And they sort of kind of, and this is the more traditional thought is that you move from academia to some sort of young artist diploma program to some sort of to the opera house basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I would say that I wish I could speak to my younger self and tell myself is that everybody's path is different.
Yes.
I was not one of those singers that got into every young artist program. I did maybe one young artist program. It was a pay to sing, right?
Mhm.
And I've made a La Scala debut. I've done a lot of. I'm singing at one of the top five opera houses in the nation right now, right?
Yeah,
But if I
yeah.
had I gone with that thought that, these are the steps:
Mhm,
school, young artist program, Metropolitan Opera stage, then
mhm.
I would have probably been discouraged and probably would have given up a long time ago, right? So the
Yes.
number one thing I would say is know and understand that your journey is not everybody's journey. Your journey is different, and everyone comes from a different path, right?
Yes.
So stick to it. You're
Mhm,
gonna get a lot of no's. You're
mhm.
gonna have doors shut in your face. But when the door closes, open up a window, right?
Yes.
Being comfortable with making your own lane. And if
Mhm.
there's something that is missing in the industry, why not create it yourself,
Come
right?
on. Now,
Why
see,
not
now
create your own lane?
you talking my language, see, because that pours over into that entrepreneurial spirit that we
Yes.
also don't get in academia, but we definitely need. And you're
Yes, it
actually
is.
moving in it when you're going from gig to gig and doing that is entrepreneurial. You
That
have
is.
to fill in them gaps in the
You have to
downtime,
fill in
like
the
you
gaps.
said, peaks and valleys, just like in business.
Yes.
So, I'm gonna pull back because that'll be another live. But I love, but that's it. Like,
Yeah.
carve your own path. We
Carve
are
your own path.
creatives. That's what we're called.
That's
So
what we do.
create your lane. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
And that's hard for many of us to internalize, right? Because as we were saying before, we're sort of taught in that setting that this
Yeah.
is the path to follow. And then, you feel like if you're not successful following that specific path, then that you're not worthy or you're not talented. And that's
Oh
not the
my.
case.
It's
I
not.
thought that for many years.
Yeah.
I'm just now, to be completely honest with you,
Mhm.
I'm just now walking into that path. Has taken a long time. for me specifically.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you
So
didn't quit. So, like, what has been your driving force? Like, what is your why? Why haven't you stopped?
my why is the fact that I feel like this was a God-given gift, and it's something that I love to do.
Yeah.
Um, it's a passion of mine. I wake up every day, and music is like one of the first things on my mind. It just is. It's just
Yeah.
in me in that way, you
Yeah.
know.
That's right.
So I could not give up. If I there have been plenty of times where I have wanted to give up, to be honest
Right.
with you,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't do it.
Like, where else would you go? What else would you do? Right.
You're right. Well, that's another thing too. They kind of say like if you can do anything else, then do that. Oh, I will say I am a proponent of being able and capable and having a skill set that will allow you to do other things, right?
Agreed.
If that means learning Excel, for example, like I spent some years working in administration for a corporate business, you know
Mm,
what I mean? Because as we were saying before, there's peaks and valleys. You have to sort of fill that
yeah.
stuff in the middle. This is before I became a regular full time at Lyric. You know, I was kind of doing double duty. I was going to rehearsals and then everybody would go celebrate after rehearsal, and I'll go back to work, right? Because you have to also be able to support yourself. We have
Yeah.
rent to pay, we have bills,
Yes.
inflation going on right now. Like everything is crazy right now. So you have
Yeah.
to be practical in the sense that
Mm,
don't limit yourself that you can't do anything else, right? So
that's right. That's it. That's so
yeah,
good. Yep. Be open, yep, to doing those things because you, like you said, you got to survive. So,
yeah.
yeah, and that doesn't mean that you failed. If you
It
gotta
doesn't mean that you
get a
failed.
part, that is the journey. Like
That's the
that
journey.
is what we should expect. And I feel like again, we weren't really set up to know that in school.
Right,
Maybe I feel like I remember it being maybe sprinkled in, like people would go up to New York, like, all right, they about to make the big move or whatever, right? They go to New
right.
York and try to,
Including myself.
yeah.
I did that
So,
too.
see, and so whenever singers did that, it's like, okay, you're gonna have to get a part-time side hustle while
Yep.
you're trying to, break in. But
Yep.
outside of that, I feel like we weren't really aware that like this walk as a singer, as a professional singer, like you said, you're gonna have ups and downs. You're gonna have
Yeah.
to fill it in. You're gonna have to get you some multiple streams. You're
Yes,
gonna
you
have
are.
to be creative and have you some side gigs or something.
Yes.
You know,
And that's one thing that you're not taught, right? Really,
right?
right? That's
That's
one
what I'm
thing you
saying.
sort of realize when you transition out of it.
See, but
Yeah.
then it's too late. I mean, you gotta live. So
You
it's
gotta
like,
live.
wait, you just now knowing this and it. No, that stuff needs to be told on the front end, much sooner.
That's one thing if I could change anything about how sort of academia is going now, I would love within, schools of music or conservatories per se to have courses on how to do your taxes, right? To
Mhm.
have courses on how to market yourself,
Come on.
to have courses on how to be an advocate for yourself because there are also times when you'll have companies and managers that want you to sing specific roles that might not be good for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, that's why I said really know your instrument and really know your capabilities because if you burn out too soon, they're moving on to the next artist.
Bye.
They're not worried about what you're doing at that point, right?
Oh,
And you stuck at home with busted vocal cords, right? So that's why I say, you really
right.
you really gotta be on top of that.
So I'm
So
gonna ask you this question. I love talking to you. Like you're just so easy to talk to. So how do you learn your instrument? How do you get that intimate knowledge where you know what your uniqueness is, what you bring
mhm.
to the table, and you're able to know when to turn down something or whatever? Like how do you come to know that?
That's a good question. For me, and like I said, I'm not by no means am I the authority on any of this,
Right.
but this is just sort of my experience and my opinion.
Mm,
For me, it's a lot of vocal exploration. It's a lot of working on things. It's a lot of studying with
yeah.
teachers. Even if you, and this is another thing about transitioning out of academia. Um, in academia, we have our weekly lessons, right?
Right.
Sometimes twice a week, especially if we're preparing for recitals and juries and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And when you leave that, there's not necessarily somebody that's going to be that you're going to have to quote unquote report to every week. So
Right.
it's going to be your job as a singer to find someone that you trust, right?
Mhm.
To check in every now and again to say, hey, I have this coming up. I just kind of want to have a lesson or two to sort of see how things are working, and really be on top of that. So for me, it's a lot of um, self exploration, practicing at home, making sure that I'm staying on my technique and applying that basic foundation that I learned in
Yes.
singing.
Got you. Yeah, that's good.
It's,
That's
it's a
good.
lot of times it's trial and error too.
I know it is. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So again, I keep going back to this. So, but if you got that belief that if I sing anything outside of opera, how you gonna explore?
How are you going to
You
explore?
see what I'm
Right.
saying? I cannot. I
Yeah.
hate that we've been told it's lie because it blocks
Yeah.
so much. But anyway, we're gonna get
Yes.
we're gonna bust that up. But yeah, exploration. That's so good. So so
Yeah,
good.
and also starting with what you like to sing or what genres
Yes.
that you like to listen to.
Yep.
A lot of it is just that too. It's like I like this certain genre, this certain sound. Let me
Mhm.
sort of see if I can incorporate that.
Yes.
Always remaining true to your sound. I don't ever want to get anybody into mimicking somebody else because there's a lot of that too, right? But
Right. You're
but I
right.
don't think there's anything wrong with that sort of type of exploration
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, and this is our final question. Okay, nobody. Okay, it's fine. This is our final question. So, Camille, tell us, how do we land the gig and secure the bag, honey? How do we get these doors to open? How do we get in there and stay in there? Give us some tips.
Always be prepared.
Okay.
Know your craft.
Mm-hmm.
Be prepared in the sense that there are a lot of things, and I've gotten a lot of gigs too, where I've had to sort of step in at the last minute.
Mm,
And so that's why I say always be prepared because there's nothing worse than somebody calling you for an opportunity and then you're like, oh, wait, I got to go and,
mm.
learn that or let me, because they're going to be moving on to the next person.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
I've seen that
yes.
a lot. So being prepared, not waiting. For example, if it's a role or a theater gig, or if I'm singing a concert somewhere, not waiting um,
Mhm.
to be familiar with that sort of rep, in that
Yeah.
genre. Um, Keeping an open mind, right? Not limiting yourself. A lot of
Yeah.
times we can self-limit,
Mm.
our opportunities. So keeping an open mind.
Mhm.
Also not feeling like you're too good to do a certain thing. Like I know a lot of singers like, oh, I'm too good to sing in a chorus, or oh, I'm too good to sing background. I've sung background for Sarah Brightman. I've had the opportunity to sing background for Josh Groban. I've sung behind Kathleen Battle. So keeping
Wow.
an open mind, really
Yeah.
advocating for yourself in terms of not only your capabilities, but also when it comes to your check and being paid on time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of entities that will play with you, quote unquote, and they go to stuttering when it's time to get your paycheck. So
Mm.
be learn to be comfortable
Yeah.
because a lot of times we get uncomfortable with that when we're dealing with payment, right?
Hmm.
We got to get out of that quickly,
Honey.
quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Let
not
me.
being afraid to express, okay, this is how I want to be paid,
Yes.
this is when I need to be paid, that sort of thing.
Right.
Learning contracts, learning the business,
Hmm.
having contacts,
Yeah.
open up your circle so that, that you're not only just dealing with singers, but you also know music directors, producers, people that sing background, people that are doing R&B, people are doing, people in the theater lane, because you never know how small this business really is.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
lot of times, a lot of stuff is based on referral and who you know, and if you're there at the right time with the right people. So open up your circle a little bit when it comes to that as well.
That's such good
I
advice.
would say.
So, so good. So that takes, being genuine and knowing how to build relationships
Yeah.
intentionally. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
those types of skills, they seem simple, but a lot of us like we suck at it.
Yeah, that's
We
true.
suck. We just trying to make a relationship because I want something. Like,
Right.
no, genuinely want to connect with this
With
person.
people.
Do
Because
you know?
that's what being an artist is all about as well. Whether
Yeah.
it's connecting with the person you're singing with or connecting with your audience, and people
Right.
also can see right through
Oh, they
when
can.
it's not genuine. People can see right through that. Believe
Totally.
it or not, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people get jobs based off of you're just a joy to work with. You're a great colleague. So I'm
Mhm.
going to think about this person I had in my mind when I'm hiring. It's a
Mhm.
lot of that as well. So
Wow.
just being a good person, right?
Yes.
Navigating the world, treating others how you would like to be treated.
Simple.
It's a lot of that. And we
Yeah.
don't think of that because it seems so mundane and simple, but it goes a long way.
Wow.
It really does.
Oh, that's some good advice, Camille. That's so good as we train and hone our skill and, all of that. Just remembering those simple things like that, like be
Yeah.
easy to work with. You know what I'm
Easy to
saying?
work with.
Like,
Yep.
be a good person in your words. But that's great advice.
Yeah.
Great, great, great advice. Okay, so it's 3:04 and I don't like to go over 30 minutes. So we 4 minutes over and we gonna wrap it up. But this was so great. I trust that people will catch the replay. I don't see anybody, writing anything, but I'm definitely gonna, use this and share because I want these young ones, that are coming through academia to
Yeah.
have support,
To have
um,
support.
and to have resources, people they can ask questions to again, because like it's so easy to connect now. Everything is
It
digital
is.
online. You know what I'm saying?
Everything's digital and global. There's no excuse.
Digital and global. I love
Yes.
how you said that. It is.
Yeah.
So, there may be some things that our university programs fail to give us, and no disrespect, but you got to go get it.
You gotta
I'm
go
talking
get
to
it.
these singers, be hungry. We're having
Yes.
this conversation. Camille Humes, he's on Facebook. If you have a question, I'm sure you don't mind if these young
Not at all.
people,
Please reach out. Please reach out.
yeah,
Definitely. Definitely.
send him a DM, ask your questions, be hungry. If this is what you want to get, you got to go get it. So, Camille, thank you for this. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for having me. It's so
you.
good to see you,
Yes,
friend.
you too. You too. And I will be in touch. I'm gonna close this live. And I think it'll actually shut down our Zoom too, but I'll
Okay.
call you back in the Facebook thing.
Okay.
But
All
that's
right.
it, guys. So thank you for tuning in, Camille. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Anytime. See you
Bye
next time.
bye.